Most people live at the mercy of others. They fear betrayal, they fear humiliation, they fear being cast aside. But Machiavelli taught that there is a way to rise above this weakness, to wield a secret that protects you even when the world conspires against you. In this lesson, you will uncover that dangerous secret. Power in its rawest form is not always about the armies you command, the wealth you hold, or the titles that rest upon your name. In truth, power is often an illusion, a carefully painted mask that convinces others of your superiority. The world, after all, is ruled not by absolute strength, but by what others believe about your strength. If they believe you are untouchable, if they believe you are stronger than you truly are, they will never dare to test you. And this, my friend, is the foundation of becoming untouchable. Consider the great rulers of history. Many were not the strongest, nor the richest, nor the most deserving by blood, yet they endured because they mastered the art of perception. They understood that appearances often outweigh reality. Niccolò Machiavelli himself once warned that men judge more with their eyes than with their hands, meaning people will decide who you are based on what they see, not what is true. Your enemies do not need to know the cracks in your armor. They need only to believe your armor is impenetrable. When you enter a room, your presence must outweigh your words. Even if you lack the resources of your rivals, you must project a sense of command so strong that they hesitate before opposing you. This does not mean arrogance, but it does demand control. Control over your expression, control over your posture, control over what you allow others to glimpse, the slightest display of weakness. Hesitation in your voice, insecurity in your tone, desperation in your actions can become an invitation for predators to circle. But if you wear the mask of strength, unwavering and unshaken, even the boldest will think twice. In politics, this was the survival weapon of rulers who lacked military might. They spoke of armies they did not possess, they exaggerated alliances, they hinted at punishments too great to risk. Enemies, uncertain of what was real, often chose not to challenge them. This same principle applies in life today. If people think you are surrounded by influence, if they think you have connections beyond their reach, if they believe you hold more leverage than they do, they will not attack. The illusion itself becomes your shield. But here lies the delicate balance. Perception is not sustained by words alone. It must be reinforced by carefully chosen demonstrations. Empty talk collapses if no display supports it. You must sometimes act decisively, even if only once, to etch the idea of your strength into the minds of others. A calculated show of force, a bold move at the right moment, will convince people that beneath your calm exterior lies a power they cannot risk awakening. Once this image is established, you need not always prove it again. The fear of the unknown, the fear of what they think you are capable of, is enough to maintain it. And here is the harsh truth: people rarely search for the whole truth. They are content with appearances. They accept the mask because it is easier to fear what they do not understand than to investigate what is truly behind the mask. This is why perception becomes more valuable than actual strength. A man who is feared for the strength he does not entirely possess is still more secure than the man who is strong but perceived as weak. For perception, once rooted, governs behavior more effectively than reality ever could. Every ruler, every leader, every man of ambition is faced with a timeless question: is it better to be loved or to be feared? The weak cling to the illusion that love is stronger, that affection will bind men to loyalty. But history proves otherwise. Love is fragile. Love is conditional. Love is dependent on circumstances. It withers when tested by hardship. It evaporates when ambition collides with survival. But fear endures. Respect, when built upon fear, is not easily broken. And this is why the untouchable man learns to wield the weapon of fear and respect as one blade. Think of love as rope. It ties men to you. Yes, but rope frays under tension. It snaps when pulled too hard. Fear, however, is chain. It binds them tightly. It restricts their actions, and it holds even in the harshest storms. A man who respects you may falter when tempted by greed or envy, but a man who fears you will hesitate, calculating the consequences before making any move against you. Fear carves hesitation into their hearts, and hesitation is the death of rebellion. This does not mean cruelty for its own sake. A ruler who inflicts suffering without purpose becomes despised, and hatred breeds conspiracies. Fear, to be effective, must be deliberate and precise. The untouchable man does not lash out blindly. He punishes only when necessary, but when he does, he makes it unforgettable. One decisive act of severity can prevent 1,000 acts of disobedience. A single demonstration of strength echoes louder than countless warnings. Respect must walk hand in hand with fear, for fear without respect turns into hatred, and respect without fear dissolves into weakness. When people respect your intelligence, your strategy, your control, they will admire you even when they fear you. This balance is the true art. A man who inspires both awe and dread cannot easily be touched, because those around him are caught between their reverence for him and their terror of crossing him. History remembers rulers who understood this balance. Rome was filled with men who rose not by kindness, but by commanding fear through decisive action, while maintaining the respect of their soldiers and citizens. Their reigns were not secured by promises of affection, but by ensuring that defiance carried a price too heavy to pay. And once a people understood that betrayal led not to forgiveness, but to swift ruin, they thought twice before acting. In your own life, the principle is the same. If those around you fear the consequences of betraying you, but respect the way you carry yourself, they will tread carefully. They may not love you, they may not even like you, but they will not risk moving against you. And in this, you gain freedom. Freedom from constant worry, freedom from being undermined, freedom from the petty games that destroy ordinary men. To be untouchable, you must ensure that those in your presence know that admiration is welcomed. But defiance carries a cost they cannot afford. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a fortress. The untouchable man knows that the more he speaks, the more he risks revealing the map of his mind. Words, once released, cannot be recalled, and in them others find traces of your fears, your desires, your plans. But when you are silent, when you allow no glimpse into your thoughts, you become an enigma. People fear what they cannot read, and they cannot strike what they cannot see. The ordinary man fills the air with words. He believes that constant explanation, endless justification, and careless chatter makes him appear clever or trustworthy. But in truth, the more he speaks, the more weapons he gives away. His enemies do not need to defeat him, they only need to listen long enough to discover where to attack. Silence denies them that. Silence leaves them blind. A ruler who masters silence commands attention without demanding it. When others argue, he listens. When others reveal, he conceals. In the stillness of his silence, he is already gathering information, weighing motives. Watching as others expose themselves through careless speech, men often rush to fill silence, and in their rush, they reveal far more than they intended. The untouchable man understands this and lets their need for noise serve his strategy. But silence is not merely the absence of words. It is the presence of control. It is the ability to resist the urge to correct every misunderstanding, to fight every insult, to answer every question. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. When your enemy mocks you and you remain silent, you deny him the satisfaction of seeing your emotions stir. When your rivals demand your plans and you answer with silence, you rob them of foresight. Silence frustrates, confuses, and weakens those who seek to manipulate you. Consider the courtroom of power. The man who defends himself too passionately often appears guilty even when he is not. The man who remains composed, measured, and silent forces others to doubt their accusations. They begin to wonder, what does he know that we do not? What strength does he hold that allows him such calm? This is the hidden weapon of silence. It does not only conceal your weakness, it creates the illusion of hidden strength. Machiavelli observed that men are deceived more easily by appearances than by reality. Silence is the ultimate appearance because it gives nothing and promises everything. It forces others to construct their own ideas of who you are, often imagining you greater, stronger, or more dangerous than you may actually be. Their imagination, fed by your silence, becomes your weapon. In your daily life, this mastery is no less vital. When faced with provocation, remain silent. When tempted to boast, remain silent. When pressured to reveal your next step, remain silent. Speak only when your words strike like arrows. Direct, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. In this way, silence ceases to be mere quietness. It becomes a weapon sharper than any sword, a shield stronger than any armor, and the mark of a man who is untouchable. Attachment is the chain that binds rulers, leaders, and ordinary men alike. The stronger the chain, the easier it is for others to pull you in directions you did not choose. To be untouchable, you must understand the art of detachment, the ability to stand apart, to observe without being enslaved, to hold power without being held by anyone. For the man who is tied too tightly to people, possessions, or emotions becomes a prisoner of them, and prisoners are never untouchable. Detachment is not indifference, nor is it cruelty. It is clarity. It is the recognition that those who are too deeply bound to their allies or their passions can be easily manipulated. Enemies will not attack you directly. They will pull at the strings of your attachments. They will whisper lies to your friends, poison the loyalty of those you love, or exploit the desires you cannot control. And when they do, you will fall, not because you lacked strength, but because you lacked distance. Consider the ruler who builds his empire upon the devotion of a single ally. The moment that ally is corrupted or lost, his foundation collapses. Consider the man who clings desperately to the approval of others. Every insult, every rejection, every betrayal shatters him because his sense of worth is borrowed, not his own. The untouchable man, however, stands apart. He values relationships, but he does not depend on them. He accepts loyalty, but he does not beg for it. He can walk away without hesitation, for he knows his power is not anchored in any one person or thing. This detachment creates fear in others. When they see you cannot be controlled by desire, when they realize you cannot be swayed by affection, when they discover you cannot be broken by loss, they hesitate. They do not know where to strike, because every weapon they might use falls harmlessly before you. The man who is detached is immune to manipulation, and this immunity is what makes him untouchable. Even in matters of the heart, detachment is power. Love, when it becomes obsession, is a weakness. It makes a man reckless, vulnerable, and dependent. But love, when tempered with detachment, becomes a choice, not a prison. You may give affection, but you never surrender control. You may enjoy pleasure, but you never allow it to master you. In this balance, you retain the freedom to act, to withdraw, to command, without being enslaved to anyone's approval or affection. And in politics, detachment is survival. A prince who grows too attached to his advisors loses the ability to judge clearly. A leader who clings too tightly to tradition becomes blind to opportunity. A man who cannot release what no longer serves him drags the weight of decay behind him. The untouchable man, by contrast, knows when to cut ties. He knows when to abandon alliances, when to discard failing strategies, when to step away from those who weaken him. His detachment is not cruelty, but strategy, the refusal to let sentiment cloud the pursuit of power. Betrayal is not an accident of life, it is a certainty. The untouchable man does not ask if betrayal will come, he asks when. For envy is born in the hearts of those beneath you, resentment festers in the minds of those you surpass, and ambition burns quietly in the souls of those closest to you. To deny betrayal is to walk blindly into destruction. To expect betrayal, to prepare for it, and to control it is to master one of the deadliest forces in human affairs. The weak collapse when betrayed. They cry, they rage, they drown in the bitterness of being deceived. But their downfall comes not from betrayal itself, it comes from their failure to anticipate it. The untouchable man is never surprised. He knows that loyalty is often temporary, that promises are often shallow, and that the hand that feeds may one day become the hand that strikes. Thus, he prepares. He does not rely on trust alone. He builds safeguards, he gathers intelligence, he keeps his eyes open, even at the banquet of friendship. Control over betrayal begins with foresight. Anticipate who has reason to betray you. Understand the ambitions of those you elevate. For the higher you raise them, the more they may imagine themselves above you. Do not grant anyone so much power that their disloyalty can destroy you. This is why wise rulers divided responsibilities, balanced allies against one another, and kept decisive power in their own hands. When betrayal came, it was expected, and because it was expected, it was contained. But foresight alone is not enough. The untouchable man must know how to respond when betrayal reveals itself. And here, the greatest error is emotion. Anger blinds, grief weakens, vengeance consumes. A man who punishes betrayal with rage only confirms his vulnerability. But the man who punishes betrayal with cold calculation turns it into a lesson for all. His strike is not wild, but precise. His response is not delayed, but immediate. He does not shout, he demonstrates. And in that demonstration, he creates fear so deep that others dare not imagine following the same path. Machiavelli himself warned that cruelty, if necessary, must be executed swiftly in one decisive act, so that it lingers in memory but does not breed endless hatred. The traitor must be crushed so completely that his example becomes a warning. When others see that betrayal against you leads not to mercy, but to ruin, they will think twice before plotting. Fear is the antidote to disloyalty, and betrayal, when controlled, becomes a tool for solidifying your power. Yet the most dangerous form of betrayal is subtle. Not the dagger in the night, but the whisper in the shadows. Allies who quietly withdraw support, friends who slowly poison your reputation, partners who erode your foundation without striking directly. These betrayals must also be controlled. The untouchable man exposes them to light, not with reckless accusations, but with strategy. He lets their actions reveal themselves, and when the moment is ripe, he unmasks them before all, ensuring that their fall is both public and final. Thus, betrayal, once feared by the weak, becomes a weapon in the hands of the strong. By expecting it, preparing for it, and punishing it with ruthless precision, the untouchable man transforms betrayal from a threat into a stage upon which his dominance is displayed. At the heart of power lies one secret so dangerous that it separates untouchable from the vulnerable. It is not wealth alone, nor brute force, nor even cunning. It is the simple, ruthless principle of dependence. The one who is needed holds power over the one who needs. To be untouchable, you must build your life so that others require your presence, your skills, your influence, your guidance, while you remain free of needing them in return. Consider the structure of any kingdom. A ruler is not secure because of his crown, but because his subjects need him to maintain order. Ministers, soldiers, and citizens know that without him, chaos would consume them. That need binds them tighter than loyalty ever could. Remove that need, and their loyalty withers. The same is true in every arena of life. A man who depends on others is easily discarded, but a man whom others depend upon becomes indispensable, and indispensability is the armor of the untouchable. This principle is not born in words but in actions. You must cultivate strengths, talents, and positions that others cannot easily replace. Make yourself the one who solves problems, the one who holds knowledge, the one whose absence creates a void too large to ignore. The untouchable man does not beg for a seat at the table. He becomes the table. And when others gather, they realize the feast cannot begin without him. Dependency is power disguised as necessity. When allies need your support to rise, they will protect you. When rivals need your cooperation to succeed, they will endure you. Even enemies, If they require what you alone can provide, will hesitate to strike. This hesitation is your shield. It buys you time, influence, and the ability to move freely, while others are trapped by their own reliance on you. But beware, this secret is dangerous because it demands sacrifice. To be needed, you must be willing to walk alone. You cannot lean too heavily on others, for that would make you weak. You cannot beg for constant reassurance, for that would make you dependent. Your strength must come from within, from building yourself into a fortress of value that no one can ignore. The higher you climb in this principle, the fewer people you will need, and the more people will need you. That imbalance is what gives you the edge of the untouchable. Imagine the advisor who whispers into the ear of kings. He holds no crown, commands no army, yet he is the voice that shapes decisions. Remove him, and the king falters. Or the strategist whose knowledge no general can match. Dismiss him, and the war is lost. These figures are untouchable not because they are loved, but because they are necessary. Their value is not sentimental, it is structural. Without them, the machine collapses. The same law applies in your life, at work, in power, in relationships. Become the one who cannot be easily replaced. Let others rely on your vision, your discipline, your strength, while you rely only on yourself. When you occupy this position, you no longer chase safety. Safety chases you. For the world does not destroy what it desperately needs. The path to becoming untouchable is not built on kindness, nor on blind trust, nor on the fragile promises of loyalty. It is forged in perception, in the calculated balance of fear and respect, in the mastery of silence, in the cold art of detachment, in the ruthless control of betrayal, and in the dangerous secret of being needed more than you need others. Each principle is a weapon, each law a shield, and together they form the armor that no enemy can pierce. This is not the way of the weak, nor the knave. It is the way of those who wish to endure, who wish to rise, who wish to stand above the reach of envy, betrayal, and destruction. Machiavelli did not write for dreamers. He wrote for survivors, for rulers, for those who understood that in a world of wolves, safety does not belong to the lamb. Safety belongs to the one who learns how to be untouchable.